I'll brief you today on the details as I know them to this point on the shooting that injured one of our Dallas police officers on March 14th. On the 14th, at around 12:45 a.m., Dallas police were working covert in the area of Bigelow Drive when they saw a blue Chevy Camaro, later determined to be stolen out of the city of Dallas, driving recklessly, doing donuts, and nearly hitting an unmarked police vehicle. One of the officers started to follow the Camaro, doing surveillance. A short time later, the suspects in the Camaro noticed they were being followed. In the 3200 block of Easter Avenue, the suspects crested a hill and made a U-turn. They approached the officer, driving in the opposite direction, and when they were parallel to each other, the driver of the blue Camaro fired 5 rounds at the officer's car, hitting it twice. One of the rounds went in the driver's door and hit the officer in his hip. The officer did not return fire and called over the radio that he had been shot. Officers nearby responded and provided medical care for the officer until he was taken to a local hospital and underwent surgery, where he still remains hospitalized but in stable condition. Officers located the blue Camaro on East Keys Boulevard and attempted to stop it, but the driver sped off and officers started to pursue the car. During the pursuit, Air 1 and the Dallas County Sheriff's Office assisted the Dallas Police Department. The pursuit lasted about 10 minutes, eventually ending in the 7200 block of Chesterfield. 3 of the 6 people in the Camaro ran from the vehicle. 1 passenger, a male, ran from the scene. A second passenger, a 15-year-old female, was caught after a short foot chase. Air 1 continued to follow the driver, later identified as 17-year-old Jahart Nickelberry, who you will see later on dash cam video running from the car with a gun in his hand. Air 1 directed officers to Nickelberry's location inside the apartment complex, and he was taken into custody. The other 3 passengers in the car remained in the car and were not charged. Nickelberry and the 15-year-old were taken to local hospitals with minor injuries. The 15-year-old was charged with evading arrest. Nickelberry, a documented gang member, has been charged with aggravated assault, evading arrest, detention in a motor vehicle, UUMV, tampering with evidence, and 2 aggravated robberies, and I'll have more on those in a moment. This investigation is ongoing, and there is the possibility of additional charges. Detectives continue to work to identify the second male suspect who ran from the scene. He is not currently in custody. Several weapons were seized by law enforcement. When Nickelberry was taken into custody, he was not in possession of the handgun he had when he got out of the car. Officers later located that weapon in the apartment complex. Officers also located a weapon thrown out of a window during the pursuit on I-20 and West Wheatland Road. That gun was reported stolen out of Shreveport, Louisiana. A third weapon was found inside the suspect's vehicle. I know for a fact that my officers prevented further violent crimes to have been committed that night and future crimes, and we are lucky that we did not lose an officer in the process. Through our investigation, detectives learned the Camaro was involved in an aggravated robbery in the 3500 block of Cripple Creek around 10 p.m., just hours before our officer was shot. The preliminary investigation determined 2 male suspects approached the victim's car where the victim had agreed to meet someone to sell vape pens. As the victim drove away, the 2 men started shooting, causing the victim to crash their vehicle. The victim ran from the scene, and the suspect stole property from the car. At the scene on Chesterfield, detectives obtained a search warrant to search the stolen Camaro, and inside found evidence linking the car to the previous aggravated robbery, along with stolen property. The investigation determined Nickelberry and the unknown male suspect who ran from the scene were responsible for the robbery on Cripple Creek. Our detectives also learned Nickelberry was a suspect in an aggravated robbery offense in Ellis County. That offense involved a home invasion, led to an officer-involved shooting in Glen Heights. One of the suspects was killed, and the driver in the case was identified as Nickelberry. Nickelberry has been charged with aggravated robbery in both the Dallas and Glen Heights cases. We are lucky that we did not lose an officer that day. Whether Nickelberry knew if a Dallas police officer was inside that car or not, he fired into an occupied vehicle, showing absolutely no regard for human life. This is the type of crime that our men and women work every day to prevent, to put this type of violent criminal behind bars to make our streets safer. The men and women of the DPD go to work not knowing what the day or shift a call will hold, but they do it every day to protect and to serve. They do this job because they want what is right and what is best for the people of the city of Dallas. As for our officer, he continues to recover today. His spirit, his attitude over the last few days is something remarkable. As I've made mention before, not long after his surgery, he's cracking jokes in recovery, working to lighten the mood, doing it to comfort his family, his chief, his command staff, when it was us that should have been comforting him. Even after all he'd been through, continue to serve, continue to care for others, that's something to be commended. His first words to me, as I've said again, is asking me if we got him. We sure did. And his brothers and sisters on this department continue to do that work each day, putting their uniform on, not knowing what day or a shift a call will hold, but they do it to serve, to protect, and I'm proud to be their chief. We'll now show some video from the incident, and I'll be back to answer some questions.
Camaro's exiting at Wheeling at 35. Come on, car, come on. Yeah, you let everyone do it. Get over the apartment complex here. What, bailing out? Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the fucking ground! Get on the ground! Hey, stop this truck! Get on the ground! Get up! Your fucking hand.
Questions? So we're not identifying by name right now, but he's a 4-year veteran. He was currently assigned to Tactical and Special Ops Bureau, and he was working overtime in a covert capacity that night. You know what? I don't know what the individual was thinking when he did it. Obviously, again, as I mentioned, he fired 5 times at that car. You know, our officers put their lives on the line every day. You know what? And it was an officer and not a resident of the city of Dallas. Had it not been for our officers' actions that day, there would have been a lot more violence committed by that individual that night. I really have no doubt. But as to whether or not he made them as a cop, I don't know. And I don't really know either one, whether he made him as a cop, obviously, and fired, or he fired indiscriminately at a resident of the city. Again, it's what we battle every day. I'm just very proud of all the actions that day. No. No, not really right now at this time. Obviously, our detectives are working on identifying the individual. And I've confidence, great confidence in our detectives that they will identify that person.
Was it surprising the ages involved?
One, just the sheer violence and shooting indiscriminately a car is surprising. The ages, obviously. This individual is 17 years old, and I just read to you what he's, I guess, done thus far in his young life. It's inexcusable, and again, we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop, and so. This is getting old, talking to you all and having one of my officers shot at or shot. But again, it will not deter this police department.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.